Light cone is one of the most important aspects of a character in order for them to perform at the best of their abilities. And today, I am going to rank all of them in order to help you decide whether it is worth it or not to invest on. Before we get into the tier list, keep in mind the game is still very new, you don't need to take this tier list somewhat seriously, and make sure to take my word with a grain of salt. Make sure you do your own research before taking any of my words. Especially the non-damaging light cone value are still kind of unknown because people are still not in the very end game, and make sure to level up the things that you think is strong. If you disagree with me, that's fine by me, and if you have the time, make sure to comment down below and why you think a certain light cone deserves a better tier. We're going to do this tier list per path. Of course, it won't be fair if I just rank them based on strength, since you just can't use any light cone on a character. And I'm also going to rank them based on accessibility. If the light cone can be bought on the shop with in-game currency and is kinda good, don't be surprised if I put it very high on the tier list. But without further ado, let's get into the first path, that is Destruction. I feel like the Destruction path's light cone is just really good. You don't have any shortages of good light cones here. First, we have to start with, in my opinion, the most versatile 4-star in the Destruction path, a Secret Vow. A Secret Vow is nothing short of amazing. It provides you with damage percent increase, and when you're in low health, it doubles the percentage. But it is a gacha light cone, so you might not have this light cone, but if you do have this light cone, it's definitely one of the best light cone for you to put on your Destruction characters. So overall, a very versatile light cone, universally good damage, can be used on any characters. Easy A tier. Next, we have the best free-to-play Destruction light cone that you can get, and that is Fall of an Aeon. This light cone is insane. The amount of raw damage that you can get is really nice. It does require time to get its full potential, but it doesn't affect this light cones to be on top of the damage chart. In my opinion, this is the best 5-star light cone for your Destruction characters as of now. High damage, versatile, has a good base stat, it's an easy S tier for me. Clara's light cone, something irreplaceable, is a good one. This light cone is better than Fall of an Aeon damage wise, but the thing is that this light cone needs some sort of RNG in order to pass the Fall of an Aeon, because you need to be attacked by the enemies in order to get the best of its abilities. But most of the time, you shouldn't be facing a hard time taking a hit, since Destruction characters have the second highest taunt value in the game. Not to mention, if you use this on Clara, this is just straight up pure damage boost. It has high damage, but it requires some uncontrollable factor in order to work at its max potential. It is a gacha light cone and a 5-star to boot. S tier, but below the Fall of an Aeon just because of its accessibility. Nowhere to Run is the Battle Pass light cone that free-to-plays cannot obtain whatsoever. As a 4-star light cone, this has an insane base stat. The attack stat of this light cone is the same as the Fall of an Aeon. I would put this above a Secret Vow if it's not a Battle Pass light cone, and a Secret Vow also has better damage potential since Nowhere to Run offensive abilities is only attack percent boost, and damage is mostly better than sustainability on a DPS. It has insane stat. It could be better in the early game than a Secret Vow because of the high base stat, but free-to-plays can't get this light cone, so low A tier. The Most Welcome You is a good light cone and can dwarf other 4-star light cone, but there's a catch. In order for this light cone to fully max out its stack, you need to do 1 basic, 1 skill, and 1 ultimate. For usual content like Simulated Universe and Overworld Roaming, this light cone is really good. But the thing is that if you're doing a Forgotten Hall run, time is on the essence. And most of the time your DPS should not be doing a basic attack since it's a huge damage loss. And getting to the 3rd stack requires ultimate, and that ultimate won't be available until the 3rd or 2nd turn. And this light cone also has a really low base attack stat unlike Nowhere to Run. It requires time to set up, resulting in a damage loss. It has a low base stat. Not the best option if you have the other 4-star light cone, B tier. Wolf Walk Time is a light cone specifically made for someone like Hook. At Supreme Position 5, when used on Hook, this light cone is the best 4-star light cone that you can use on Hook. The Fall of an Aeon is a little bit better, but if you're using Hook and another Destruction character, you want to use this. It has a really good damage potential. It is the best 4-star for Hook, but it is only good for Hook as of now. but it is a free-to-play light cone that you can get in the Forgotten Hall shop, high B tier. Under the Blue Sky is not the best light cone. The attack percent boost is the lowest in the destruction path, the on-kill effect is crit chance so it's not guaranteed, and you wouldn't want to build a character just for this light cone kill effect. And the base stat is also not the best. The damage on this light cone is not impressive, C tier. The 3-star options are not the best for destruction since destruction mostly are a damaging class. The base stat of a 3-star are so low that it's not even worth considering building them. Something like Collapsing Sky does outdamage a Secret Vow at max superimposition by a minuscule amount, but that's only for skill. The ultimate damage loss is just so huge. Not worth the tier for all of them. Next we have the Hunt Path. This path light cone damage charge is dominated by one light cone, and that is in the night. This light cone is insanely good, and if you can cap out the speed limit and still have a working and functioning team, this light cone is the best damaging light cone in the game as of now. Even if you don't cap out the speed limit, this light cone is by far still the best light cone for the Hunt Path. It's overall the best 5-star for all Hunt character, but it is an exclusive banner light cone. It has crazy damage, the best damage light cone by far. It is an exclusive banner light cone, but the payoff is so huge. I can't put this light cone below high S tier. Next we have Swordplay. This 4-star light cone is insane. The passive on this light cone stacks per head of your skill or ultimate, not per cast. This means someone like Dunhung can get 4 stack of this thing immediately. The damage potential of this light cone is insane and can be even better than some of the 5-star light cone in the Hunt Path. It has high damage, 4-star gacha light cone, good for almost any Hunt character, S tier. For free-to-play 5-star light cone we have Cruising in the Stellar Sea. This light cone is also pretty good since you can get this light cone at Superimposition 5 for free. This light cone is going to be your staple for a long time. The amount of crit chance that you can get from this light cone is so valuable. Being a 5-star also means that this light cone has a really good base stat. It does require you to get some crit damage in order to get the best out of this light cone, which you're going to build anyway eventually. It is a free light cone, has decent base stat, good damage, but surprisingly below Swordplay in terms of damage when you don't get the on-hit kill effect. It is an S tier. Moving on to the last 5-star in the path, there is Sleep Like the Dead. This light cone is alright, but I would refrain going out of my way from buying this light cone. The payoff is not amazing. I would just use Swordplay or Cruising in the Stellar Sea, but if you do have this light cone, it's definitely an upgrade, but not a lot. Not to mention, if you're in the end game and has a lot of crit chance, you're probably going to crit anyway. So yeah, this is just a redundant light cone in my opinion. Not much power coming from a 5-star, and it is a gacha light cone. I have to give this light cone an A tier. Subscribe for more is a weird one here. So basically this is a light cone that wants you to not use your ultimate. Just imagine how much damage loss that you will get from not casting your ultimate. Right now this light cone doesn't have any characters that want to use it. Maybe in the future there is, but for now it's a C tier for me. River Flows in Spring is a free light cone made for Yanqing. Since Yanqing doesn't want to get damage, might as well use this light cone while you're working on your Cruising in the Stellar Sea. It does have a speed buff, which I am not a fan of for early game, since most of the time you want your support to have higher speed in order to provide the DPS support that they need. But it is a free light cone and it is a pretty good. For early game Yanqing, this is A tier since it's free. For other units, I'll put it on B tier. Only Silence Remain is a good 4-star gacha light cone. If you have this, I would say use this over River Flows in Spring. It does have a condition to it, but once you enable it, it is a permanent effect. And if we're talking about Forgotten Hall bosses, most of the time there's not a whole lot of enemies anyway. It is a good damage and is a 4-star, so easier to get than Sleep Like the Dead. It is an A tier in my opinion. Return to Darkness is different from the other Hunt light cone, since it's not a pure damaging light cone. The damage that you can get from this light cone is definitely lower, but you will have a Dispel, which could be huge in a stage where the enemy uses buffs. I don't know if something like this is going to be relevant later down the road, especially since we have characters like Bella that can just remove buffs from enemies. But for now, I have to put it on the B tier. For the 3-star, again, this path mostly consists of DPS, so 3-star light cone are a no-go, and all of the options are pretty much conditional as light cone anyway, so just don't use them, not even worth a tier. Erudition path in my opinion has the weakest light cone in all of the damage path, and only a handful of the 4 stars are universally good. But yeah, the best light cone for the Erudition path that is universally good right now is Another Peaceful Day that you can get from the battle pass. And it is a 4-star. That just shows how bad the light cone from this path is. If you're using someone like Sir Paul, this will give you unconditional 20% damage increase, and that's it. It's just a worse version of a secret vow from the destruction path. Not much to say here. Really, it's just a good universal damage. It has to be an S tier for Erudition. The next best universal option is Seriousness of Breakfast. It's a free light cone at Superimposition 5. This light cone is better than Another Peaceful Day by 4% when used on someone that has 100 energy. The on-kill effect is somewhat useful, but don't rely on it too much. It's a good damage, free to play option, S tier for Erudition, not much to say. Genius Repose is a lackluster 4-star. Again, on-kill effects are not reliable. The passive is only 16% attack, and most of the time attack percent is weaker than damage percent. But it is a universal option, so A tier for Erudition since this path's light cone are just on a full-blown copium mode right now. Make the World Climber is a light cone that only boosts the damage of your ultimate, and starts you with extra 20 energy. Meaning, on a Forgotten Hall setting, this light cone could enable your character to do an ultimate on turn 1 or turn 2. I did some crude calculation on an 8 cycle Forgotten Hall setting to see if it's worth it or not to run this over something like the S tier option. But the damage loss is actually pretty bad. It's a bad trade-off for ultimate damage, but it is still a universal option, so B tier for me. Next we have Himiko's light cone, Night on the Milky Way. This light cone is just weird. It essentially punishes you for killing enemy. This light cone can be used for something like farming. Other than that, this is a light cone that provides you at most 27% attack on a realistic Forgotten Hall setting, and the number will go down more and more, leaving you with only 9% attack boost. The second part of the passive is massive. 30% damage increase is good, but again, it's a conditional buff. You can't rely on it. For a 5-star, this light cone is by far the weakest option. It does has a higher base stat since it's a 5-star, but compare this light cone to something like Seriousness of Breakfast at Superimposition 5, this light cone could easily lose to that. It's an A tier for me. The Birth of Self is a follow-up attack focused light cone. It increases the follow-up attack damage by 24% and another further 24% when the enemy falls below 50% health. This light cone could be insane if it increases all damage, but sadly it's a follow-up attack increase only. Right now, the only follow-up attacking character for Erudition is Himiko and Herta. In the future there will be Jingyan, and this can be a decent option for him. But for now, follow-up attacks on Himiko and Herta, their follow-up attack multiplier is not the highest, and I can only give this light cone a B tier for now. It's a bait trade-off for losing universal damage. For the 3-star option, it's the same case scenario with the other 2 paths. No point in using them since this path wants to do damage. Epiphany could be good to cast your ultimate more often, but right now Erudition characters are all about damage, and losing damage for more energy is never a good thing for the cast right now. Not worth a tier in my opinion. Okay, so that's the 3 damaging path done. After this, we're reaching the territory where most of the things are somewhat speculative since some of the value are not raw numbers and damage, but I'll try to be as accurate as possible. But the game has just been released, so make sure to do further research before you take my words on the rest of the light cones. First, let's talk about Nihility. Nihility as a path has 2 focus: damage over time breaks and defense shred. For defense shred, we have Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat. Whew, that's a long name. This light cone is by far, in my opinion, the best light cone that you can use on someone like Pela. The damage rate that you can do on this light cone is kind of insane. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but most of the time you want effect hit rate on someone like Pela, and this light cone is just going to benefit from that. It's basically a universal damage percent increase on your whole team. It's a good supportive ability, and more damage the better. Easy S tier for me. Next we have Fermata. This light cone needs shock or wind shear, so using this on someone like Sampo and pairing him up with Kafka later down the road or Serval can be good, but break effect right now is a stat that is mostly still unknown. We still don't know how good break effect could be. It is a free to play option and one of the better option for Sampo, so B tier for me. Weld light cone in the name of the world is a good light cone. It increases all of the things that Weld can benefit on, but the thing is that the damage increase is only for the users and for their skill. And we know that Weld is not a DPS character. If I were to use Weld, I would not chase for this light cone and just use Resolution instead. For now, this is an A tier light cone for me. Eyes of the Prey Sampo's light cone is going to be the best option for Sampo right now, as it increases all of the things that Sampo wants. Effect hit rate and dot damage. Sampo without this light cone is somewhat of a bad character, but with this light cone, his damage is actually pretty competitive with the other AoE damage dealer. S tier for Sampo, since you most likely will be using this light cone only for Sampo anyways, so S tier for me. We Will Meet Again is the battle pass option for the Nihility path. This light cone is somewhat of a weird light cone. It basically is a free damage light cone. Is it worth it to use this and not using something like Resolution? Definitely not, but there might be a situation where this light cone could proc something like a talent or some other niche situation maybe, where this light cone could proc something. It is a weird light cone. For now, I'll put it on B tier just for the potential that it might have. Night Sleep Well is Pela's light cone. It increases the wearer damage percent on a debuff target. You could use this for Pela, but I value Pela more as a debuffer, so I probably will build something like energy recharge, speed, and effect hit rate on her. So going for a light cone like this is not optimal for my Pela, but if you decide to build a DPS Pela, not saying that you should do that, but if you decide to do that, then this light cone is good for that. I will use Resolution, Shine as a Pearl of Set 100 times over this light cone for my Pela though, so for me it's B tier. For 3 stars light cone, there is no light cone that is competitive options to the 4 star for this path. For now, the 3 stars are not worth the tier for this path. Moving on to the Harmony's path, in my opinion, Harmony's light cone is by far the most interesting. It has so much potential, and the light cone that has the most potential in my opinion is Dance Dance Dance. This light cone when paired with something like Asta's ultimate can cut your action by almost half. And not to mention action forward scales with speed. The more speed you have, the better this light cone is. Action forward on self is a broken mechanic, just like how Bronya's talent is broken, so having a fraction of that in a light cone for your whole team is really good, isn't it? This is going to be the better option for you to use on someone like Tingyan or Asta. This light cone deserves somewhat of an S tier but on the middle, so I would say high A tier, just because of how much potential this light cone has. Next we have Bronya's light cone, but the battle isn't over. This light cone strength lies in the energy regeneration and the skill point that it generates. The damage percent boost is okay, but most of the time you don't want to spam your skill too much when you're using Bronya. So the last part is just an added value in my opinion. I will not be surprised if this light cone would still be used years from now. The utility is just so good that all Harmony characters can use this, because all of the Harmony characters right now basically wants to spam their ultimate. And this could shorten out the amount of action required for you to get your ultimate by a lot. This is an easy S tier for me. The battle pass option for Harmony is Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds. This light cone is somewhat good because it's basically just free stats, but the stats are random. You can try to reroll the stats in the Forgotten Hall by re-entering it, for example, and try to get the stats that you want. But I feel like getting your ultimate faster or getting a whole team action forward is just better. The 6% whole team energy recharge is good and probably going to be the best stats in the whole pool, but again, if I were to choose 10% on my Harmony characters or 6% on the whole team, I would choose the 10% on my Harmony characters, because that just opens up more possibility for me to reduce my ultimate cooldown. So this is an A tier for me if you get the energy, but B tier if you get the other stats, so overall high B tier. Old Photo is a really good light cone if you pair it with energy recharge rate. Your basic attack can easily reach 30 to 35 energy per attack, which is huge. The break effect sadly is not something that you want on a Harmony characters, but it is a welcome addition since break effect doesn't scale with offensive stats. Having this is just an added bonus. I want to put this on A tier, but the power level between this light cone and something like Bronya's light cone is a little bit too massive, and there is a 3-star option for doing energy recharge kind of build. So this is a B tier for me. Planetary Rendezvous is a decent light cone, but the effect that it has is tied to the user and the ally element. 12% damage increase for one ally, and sacrificing a Harmony light cone slot for that is not something that I would do. I would have to put this on low B tier. Past and Future is probably the weakest 4-star out of all of them, to be honest with you. Even with someone like Tingyan, she only wants to use her skill once per 2 or 3 turns. It's not something that you want to spam. Even more so in Bronya's case. If the buff lasts for 3 turns, I would put this on A tier. But the thing is that the buff only lasts for 1 turn. That means you have to use your skill every single turn for this light cone to take effect. It is a free-to-play option, but the effect is just too underwhelming. I have to put this on C tier. For the 3-star options in Harmony, we have something that is actually better than the 4-star, and that is Smashing Cogs. This light cone is the same case as Old Photo, where it allows you to basically speed up your ultimate, but it's a 3-star and it applies when you get hit and when you attack. At Superimpose 5, this generates 8 energy per attack. This means your basic attack can reach around 34 or more energy with 20% energy recharge. If your character has 120 energy like Bronya, this will allow her to shorten the turn that it takes to charge her ultimate to 4 turn from 6 turn of basic attacking. Same thing with Asta. So this is going to be the second best option for energy recharge light cone. This measly 3-star light cone easily takes the A tier. Next, we have the Preservation Path. This path's light cone are all pretty good at their job. The best 4-star that you can use in my opinion is The Day in My New Life. It increases your defense, which is a stat that is welcome for all shielders, and damage rest for all of your allies. It is a light cone that gives everything that you need for a preservation character in one package. Easy S tier for me. Next, we have Gepard's light cone, Moment of Victory. This light cone is the best option for Gepard right now. It gives everything that he needs and a massive defense stats to boot. This is also going to be the best option for your Fire MC by far. You can use this on March 7th, but it kind of contradicts her game plan where she wants to let your other teammates to take the hit instead of you. So March 7th, her 4-star light cone in my opinion is still the best option for her. But for the other two, I would choose this over any other light cone. It is a 5-star light cone though, and I don't think it's worth to go and buy this light cone unless you're a massive whale. But this light cone is indeed very good, so yeah, it's an easy S tier for me. The free 5-star light cone from the simulated universe for the preservation path is Lecture of Memories. This light cone in my opinion is the weakest option out of the 3 light cones that you can buy from the simulated universe shop. This light cone basically rewards you for not having a shield on, which is weird to say the least. And the stat that it boosts is Affect Rest, which is not an important stat for anything really. But it can be used to brute force contents where the enemy is just so overleveled and can break your shields easily. I have to give this one a B tier since it's just so weird and niche in my opinion. Trend of the Universal Market is the only preservation light cone that can directly damage the enemies. But if I have to choose on damaging the enemies with minuscule damage, I would choose Damage Rest from the S tiers all day. So this light cone easily takes the C tier. VR Wildfire is the free option for the preservation path. This light cone can decrease your team damage taken for 16% for 5 turns. But the second part of the effect is pretty much useless if you're doing something like the Forgotten Hall, and the first effect is not even permanent. Its damage res is decent since you can superimpose this light cone for free, but why would I choose to superimpose this thing over something like Seriousness of Breakfast from the Erudition path? For me, this is an easy C tier. Landau's choice is the 4-star Taunting Light Cone for the Preservation path. You would want to use this on your Fire MC or Gepard. It's a decent choice, especially on Gepard because he doesn't have any huge taunt modifier on his kit. The damage reduction is also pretty decent at 16%. For Gepard, this is A tier. For MC, this is B tier. So I would put this on, let's say, low A tier. This Is Me is the Battle Pass option for the Preservation path. The defense that it gives is good and welcome, but the second part of the effect is somewhat useless really. On a Preservation character that aims to tank and not deal damage, it is somewhat better than We Are Wildfire, but I don't see a world where you would rather choose this as your Battle Pass light cone since there's a somewhat good 3-star option for your Preservation character. B tier because this light cone boasts a very high defense stat. Just for that, I will have to put this on B tier. For the 3-star option, we have Ember. Ember is a solid 3-star light cone, and being a 3-star means you can get this thing max superimposed easily. At superimpose 5 on level 80 base Fire MC, we are looking at 1235 defense. With something like the Universal Market Trend Superimpose 1, we are looking at 1322 defense. As you can see, it's not that huge of a defense gap. And with This Is Me Superimpose 1, we have 1496 defense. As you can see, This Is Me has a really huge base stat. So yeah, this is why This Is Me is better than Trend of the Universal Market. But with HP lower than 50%, we will have 1535 defense, which beats all of the bad 4-stars. As a 3-star, this is pretty good, and a savior for free-to-play since We Are Wildfire is kinda bad. This is a B tier for me just because how accessible this light cone is. For the last path, we have Abundance. We're going to start with Bailu's light cone. This light cone by far is the best outgoing healing light cone. The HP percent and the outgoing healing combined is so massive, and the free damage part is also welcome. Unlike the damaging preservation light cone, there's actually no trade-off to be made here since the outgoing healing granted by this light cone is still on top of the chart right now. Next, we have Natasha's light cone post-op conversation. This light cone's energy regeneration is valuable, but let's not compare Abundance character's energy regen with Harmony character's energy regen. Their ultimate is a defensive option, after all, and there's no rush in using it unless you're fighting very strong enemies. It is a valuable stat, but not as valuable if you have energy regen on Harmony characters. The outgoing healing is also kinda mediocre. It's the third best option for pure healing option, so without a doubt I have to put this on the A tier. Next we have Quid Pro Quo. This light cone's value is kinda hard to pinpoint. It is a free option, but the thing is that this light cone relies heavily on RNG. The energy that it gives is pretty decent at 16 energy, but the most of the time your characters will already have a good rotation for their ultimate anyways, if you're building them correctly, unless they're a DPS with very awkward energy pool like Dan Heng that relies on getting hit. If you use this solely for your DPS energy, well, sadly you can't, since this light cone is RNG based. And in Forgotten Hall, not to mention, you will be getting 50% of your energy at the start anyways, so this light cone will only work on turn 2 or turn 3 when the characters already use their ultimate. It's an awkward light cone, but it is a free option, but not something you should focus on in my opinion. C tier. Next we have Shared Feeling. This light cone is the worst version of Natasha's light cone. As a healer you don't want to spam your skill, and this light cone only gives energy when you use your skill. Unlike Natasha's light cone where it gives universal energy regen. So it is just a straight up worse version than the Natasha's lightcone. I have to give this one a B tier. For the Battle Pass option, we have Warmth shortens the Cold Night. This lightcone is not the best. It does give you free healing on your basic attack and you will be spamming those frequently, but the outgoing healing loss for your ultimate is not something that is worth it in my opinion. And 2% of the character's health is not even that much. Let's say your DPS has 2000 HP. That's 40 HP. This is not something you would choose for your Battle Pass lightcone. C tier. For the 3-star option, we have Cornucopia, which boasts a 24% outgoing healing at Superimpose 5. This thing is going to be the lightcone that you want to run if you don't have Bailu's lightcone. It is by far the second best lightcone for pure healing, and being a 3-star, all of you are going to have this at Superimpose 5. It's an easy S tier for me just because how accessible and good this lightcone is. Next, we have Multiplication. This lightcone is pretty good if you're struggling with skill point. It advances your turn by 20% after a basic attack. So basically Bronya's talent. But again, Bronya's ult is offensive while Abundance characters' ultimate are defensive and not a proactive one at that. But is a good option if you're strong enough for a certain stage but still want an actual healer. I would not be surprised if people are using this once they're strong enough to beat Memory of Chaos without outgoing healing boost. This lightcone will also enable a very high speed DPS team comp that is not possible without this lightcone. It's a high A tier for me just because of the potential that this lightcone has. And that is all for the lightcone tier list. Whew, that was a lot of lightcone. Make sure to subscribe and like if you guys enjoyed this video, and as usual guys, stay broke and keep playing gacha games.